Hello, hi everyone. This is Riya, and today we're here in a conversation with Srijan Bharadwaj. He's been active in the crypto community for a while now. He's had his own crypto startup, crypto project. He's had 2 NFT collaborations, which he sold out. And he hosts a podcast with HT, and I guess that's all for now. Hi, Srijan. How are you doing?
Hi Ria, I'm great. How are you?
I am great. I quickly want to know how you got into the crypto space, firstly.
I got to know about finance for the first time in 2016 from my father, like end of 2016, and we were broke at that time because I just started a startup. In 2017, one of our interns told us about Bitcoin, and my exposure until that point of time to finance was just mutual funds and PPF.
Yeah.
So when I got to know about Bitcoin, I could not understand what this guy was talking about, and I think I was how old I was. I think I was 22 or 23 at that point of time.
Okay.
And this guy who was explaining Bitcoin to me was 18 or 19. And I was like, maybe isko kisi ne MLM bataya, because I used to do network
Yeah.
marketing, and
Yeah.
I thought maybe he's getting duped there. So I did not trust him. And a few months later, like 2 months later, he came to our office again. He was still working with us. So the trust was there. He mentioned that Bitcoin has gone up like 50%, 100% or something. And I was like, So I asked my dad, and he said कि ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता. Mutual funds 15% बढ़िया है, and if something has gone up in price, it will come down as well. So I was like, okay, great. And then in November again, he came to the office. He told us कि Bitcoin has gone up to this price. I think it went to $10,000 in November 2017. So finally, greed and FOMO kicked in. My crypto journey started with pure greed. I never tried to whitewash it with anything else. I thought, okay, this is cool stuff. I calculated. So I would say in 2017, I had finally started making money. And because I was a big ass poker fan, I had, and I was extremely overconfident at that point of time, because I'd won like 3 poker championships in 3 days, 3 consecutive days.
Fancy, very fancy.
Yeah. So I thought, Bitcoin, ye to ho jayega. So I put all of my life savings and my business partner's life savings in crypto, and in the next 3 weeks, that went to almost 4x. And no luck from my side, like no genius from my side, just the market playing out. And I was like, okay, so this is pretty easy. And everyone was telling me take out profits because you have put your life savings. And the crypto boys were telling me this will go 100x, 50x, don't sell. And finally, the market crashed. So my portfolio got reduced by almost 96%. So that's how my crypto journey started. In 4 weeks, I saw my money going almost 4x, and then say I had put in $10,000, it went to 40, and then I saw from 40 all the way back to like 1500.
Wow. ऐसे हमारे पेरेंट्स बोलते हैं ना, जितना तेज उठोगे उतना तेज गिरोगे, तो steady growth रखो. मगर that's honest. I think all of us we've just started because how the hype was, how crazy the gains were. That's why we started. But and we now end up to the community part of it. It all ties down together with the community. But this is great, and so I just wanted to have a conversation with you on DeFi and DAO today, bringing all your views to the audience. So let's just dive right in. We'll start with DeFi. So DeFi is decentralized finance, right, which works on the lines of centralized finance but replaces central authorities with code or smart contracts. And DeFi, we have financial services like staking, lending, borrowing, yield farming, etc. So I'll just start with getting a quick explainer on DeFi from you, Srijan.
So to understand DeFi, you have to understand CeFi, which is central finance. To understand central finance, you have to understand how money works. And to understand how money works, you have to understand it from the history. So if you see, the credible historians have said that the first documents they have found are 10,000 years old of human history. And surprisingly, and not so surprisingly, they are ledgers of transactions. So if you go back even before that, you would see cavemen who were bartering or who were transacting with feathers and other stuff. That was money for them. And from that, you can understand that at that point of time, money was believed to be something which 2 people or more than them would believe that this holds some value. So for example, if today we are going back into that point of time, you have a feather, I have a jewel, or I have a shiny stone. and we both agree to transact, it means we both believe there is some value in the object that you hold and I hold. And slowly from there, money started evolving in. We had the barter system, which worked well for a while. Then we had coins, gold and silver. Then we finally had the receipts, and then we had the banking systems in place. And then now we had the money backed by gold. And all of this was going well until like Nixon decided that remove convertibility of gold.
Yeah.
And finally, the money printer went brrr, and this is when things started happening. So if you think about this, 40% of US dollar was printed in the last 2 years. That puts I would say 31%, like the dollar has lost value by 31% if you think of it in numbers like that. And the official inflation of US has almost over 7%, 8% in the last 3 months. So this is how the money was screwed up. And if you go to the IMF site, if you go to World Economic Forums, they talk about a new world order, and it's very easy to read. I mean, they make it complicated, but they talk about this utopian world where by 2030, and they have literally mentioned this, no one will own anything. You won't own your house, you won't own your car, and they have painted this rosy picture that you would be living without money, there would be a car to pick you, and that is how the centralized finance system works. They showed you all the stuff. They moved from money being backed by gold to finally money being backed by a promise to finally saying that you won't any money. And while all of this was happening, so again, I believe that the world exists in polar opposites. There were a bunch of people who were trying to make money less centralized, not just from today, but from decades back. So there was this one guy who decided, like Satoshi Nakamoto, let's make Bitcoin, and that's how DeFi, in my opinion, actually started. It did not start in the summer of 20. It started a long time back, and even before Satoshi Nakamoto, there were 3 people who created their own cryptocurrencies, but they failed. So
is it okay? We all know Satoshi Nakamoto. That's all.
No.
We've had.
So we had multiple people. If you read about cypherpunks, if you read about all of the people who were actually the early promoters of Bitcoin, they had created 3 cryptocurrencies, but they failed in the initial test.
Prior to Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Bitcoin was the first one who was like the cryptocurrency that was successful on a global scale. And that is how DeFi worked. The concept of DeFi is simple. If you think of your city, which city are you in?
Right now in Bangalore.
Right now in Bangalore. So Bangalore is a huge city. Now imagine Bangalore is a huge city and there is just one power grid. And say Bangalore has like 1 crore people. So if the electricity goes off, all 1 crore people don't have any access to electricity. But if there are 2 power grid and it's divided in 50% and 50%, if electricity goes off, only 50 lakh people lose access to electricity. And this is how Bangalore was until like 40 years back, or even any metropolitan city was until 40 years back. And now we have power grids. So in your society today, if there is a power cut, chances are not all the houses would lose electricity at the same point of time. Some will, some will not. And then you have power backups. Same as this is decentralization. They have put in so many power grids that now it's virtually impossible for anyone to shut down the entire city at any given point of time. And same as with money. If you put too much power in one place, it becomes a central authority, and that central authority has the freedom to do whatever they want with your money. When it comes to DeFi, the idea is simple. Take control of your responsibility, and I'll be very honest here, DeFi is not for everyone. DeFi is not for irresponsible, lazy individuals who want someone else to handle their money for them. If that's you, then again, CeFi is great for you. DeFi is for people who were fed up with the existing system and who wanted to have more control over their life and financial future. And they decided that, okay, I want to take care of my own money. So for example, when you put your money into a bank, if you are putting in, say, 1 crore rupees into bank, now if you want your 1 crore rupees back, the bank will not let you take that money out that easily. They'll ask you a bunch of questions and you'll run into liquidity issues. The bank would need to source that money from their headquarters first. Secondly, when you deposit this 1 crore rupees in the bank is only going to insure you till a certain amount. I think it's 2.5 or 5 lakh rupees. Thirdly, the bank will take 90% of this money and loan it out. So the bank is allowed to take 90 lakh of your money and loan it out. And the interesting thing is that a bank can loan out money to a bank. So a bank takes 90 lakh rupees of yours, and say you have an account RIYA YADAV and it takes 90 lakh rupees from your account, it lends money to bank number 2, which receives 90 lakh and can keep 10% of it and lend out the next 90%. And this cycle goes on. And I'll tell you something even more interesting. In some countries, the banks are allowed to loan out 10 times more money. So instead of 90 lakhs, they can loan out 9 crore.
They are playing on full leverage, 10x leverage.
Yeah, like Grant Cardone.
Yeah.
So now, interestingly, where did this 10 times the money came from? They printed it. Next, if you go and if you dig into the history of countries, there have been countries where people who had put in money in their bank accounts, their money was used by the government to bail out the bank accounts, like to bail out banks. There have been, Cyprus has been one example. There have been other examples where ultimately if you are putting your money in your bank, you are losing. You are losing to inflation. The money that you make out of it, like say interest, you are paying tax on that. Then finally the bank is loaning 90% of your money. In some cases it is multiplying that by 10x. And if a bank goes to zero, your money would be used to bail out the bank. So the people who understand how world works chose DeFi over it. And they said that we can replace, like, I think it was Bill Gates who said that banking is important, banks are not.
Banks are not, right.
So they thought, okay, how not, like Satoshi had one vision that we can be our own wallet, we can be our own bank. Everyone can have a wallet in their phone. Why not we implement that? So when it comes to DeFi, you have every single facility that you would get in a bank, but with more security, with more control, and with more freedom. You and I, we can transact and no one would know it was us. You can send money to me today, I can send money to you cross border, and we can do it in just a few seconds. Say you are in Australia, I have to send you money today, it's Saturday. Now I would put in my papers, if it's over $5,000, I need to get 15 CA CV from my government, and then I need to get my CA stamp those papers just to make sure that he's auditing and making my money safe when I'm sending it to you. On Monday, my bank will start processing it. On Tuesday, you'll get the money. Yeah, अगर मैं यहाँ से flight लेके ऑस्ट्रेलिया जाऊँगा ना, I can do the whole process and get back faster.
True.
And this is mind-boggling because we receive money from PayPal, we receive money from payment processors, we receive money internationally, and we pay 5 to 9% fees on money we receive.
Yeah.
So for us, DeFi is beautiful because I don't pay any exorbitant fee. Irrespective of, like, I don't know if you know about that transaction where someone transacted over $3 billion in Bitcoin and the transaction fee was very less.
Yeah.
So imagine 9% fee on $1 billion transaction.
Yeah.
So this is where DeFi comes in. You have lending, borrowing, staking, insurance, collateral. You have the same kind of liquidity that the banks have. And now ultimately the banks are realizing that they cannot compete against DeFi. It's better that they collaborate. It's better that they start putting in their money. And what we are seeing right now is centralization of DeFi by certain banks. But I don't think they can keep up with this. The space is crazy.
True. Yeah, we've seen people have realized the issues with banks. Like we've seen our money is capped. We've seen fiascos. Lately, people have been standing in lines just to get their little bit money out of the bank, which is crazy. So now that we've understood what DeFi is, I just wanted to know, like, in future, which L1 do you think could host DeFi applications better? Is it going to be Ethereum or anything else? Because if it's Ethereum, would DeFi entertain such high gas fee? Because we've had rollups, merges that will happen ETH2. Will that solve the gas issue? Because we can't keep spending $50, $60 on just one single transaction. What are your views?
Which phone do you use? Which phone do you use?
Apple.
And which network provider?
Airtel.
So if you go back in time, I'll tell you, when I was in school, iPhone 4 was there. Okay. And the kids who used to have iPhone were considered ultra rich. It was a status symbol. iPhone today is a commonality. Almost anyone can have an iPhone, and people can get an iPhone on an EMI. Secondly, when you see iPhone, you see iOS, and then there are other operating systems as well. There is Android, there is Windows, and if you talk about network providers, Jio, Vodafone, all of these. So I don't think that in a complex market there is going to be just one winner. There are going to be multiple winners because multiple people can have monopolies. Ethereum already has its monopoly, but in a very different way than most people will ever understand, because Ethereum is the only layer 1 right now that does not have any VC money, because it was never started by VCs.
Yeah.
8 nerds got together in a room, 5 of them walked away, 3 of them developed Ethereum, 2 walked away after that, and then now Ethereum is more towards mercenary money. People who have made millions and millions and millions of dollars now control Ethereum, and they won't let any VC enter the space. So what VCs did, they thought, we'll get Ethereum killers. So they developed Solana, Phantom, AVAX, all the other chains, and it's great until they run out of their money. So that is why I think it's a very interesting scene, because in 2013 and 14, I remember when Ola, Uber, Meru, and a few other cab services were running. And today we only have Ola and Uber.
Yeah.
I don't see Meru around.
Yeah.
Same, there was Amazon, Flipkart, Myntra, Jabong, and tons of more e-commerce platforms. A lot of them have been purchased, bought, collaborated again, and a few remain. So I think in the next few years, we'll definitely see Ethereum. Ethereum is going to be the Apple, because most people who are already there have certain loyalty.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't talked to Vitalik in a while.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I've never talked to him. So I don't know when Ethereum 2 comes.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that it comes in the next 1 or 2 years, because people are like, they have been waiting since a long time.
Yeah.
As for other chains, the other chains who say that they're going to be Ethereum killers, I think that's great for marketing, because I understand that like you can polarize people from a marketing point of view, but you cannot kill Ethereum because it's too big now.
Yeah.
You can take its market share. If you see in the DeFi summer, Ethereum had 93% of TVL. Right now it's 57%. So it has dropped significantly. In a few months, it would be cut by half. So definitely that will happen. But again, there are 20 chains right now, if you go to DeFi Lama and if you see, that are taking that small piece of Ethereum. So ants can come where an elephant is, but I don't see another elephant entering the room until a lot of these layer 1s, they collaborate and merge with each other.
Yeah, that's a fair answer. I mean, I also believe that decentralization here would be a big thing. Ethereum shouldn't have the whole share. It's also decentralized. That's a good thing. Again, now quickly, what is your favorite application on DeFi? Which one do you use the most?
I don't have any favorites. I'm only loyal to my portfolio. So,
okay. Do you stake? Do you lend?
I do.
Yeah.
I've been staking and lending and doing all of this fancy stuff since March of 21. I've been generating decent returns. I've had days where I have made 10% in a day with staking and liquidity farming, and I have days when I have lost 8% of my portfolio in just a few minutes in a scam. So I've definitely learned a lot of stuff around here. I would say this is great stuff, but again, for people who are irresponsible, don't want a lot of responsibility, want others to take decisions for them, don't come into this space. We are happy making money. We don't want more such people, because you'll get wrecked and then kali doge. But other than that, this is exciting, because liquidity farming, liquidity mining, liquidity pools, they're here to stay. They are just in the exact way the banks work. And this is a brilliant concept. You can provide liquidity, you can make money on the top of it, because one, you are establishing the fact that you have certain belief in the coin for which you are providing liquidity, and two, the rewards are being distributed by the DEX to the liquidity providers as well. So I think this is a great idea. DeFi for me is like a big adventure park. So imagine you go to a Disneyland. Okay, so when you go to Disneyland, there is an entry gate, and you have to get a ticket there. They punch a hole in the ticket. That's a DEX. That's Uniswap or Sushi Swap or Pancake Swap. Now, when you go to Disneyland, there are certain rides there. You want to go for a ride, and say you start with the very basic ride, because you want to have a taste of all the different kind of stuff. So you get one ride, great. Then you find a guide in between, because now you are seeing so many rides. This guide tells you that, how about I create a custom itinerary for you? So think of the first ride as basic DeFi application. Think of the second one as, say, an aggregator like 1inch, or someone who is going to find the best route for you. So now he takes you to a ride which has this whole monster wheel and this roller coaster. And you say that, oh my god, I'm so scared of this. And the guide says, Riya, don't be scared. You can get an insurance. And now you also have insurance in DeFi. And then you come out of the ride and you want to like take another ride. You say, okay, I don't have money. Hey, right, can I borrow some money from you? In the meantime, you can get this, say your ticket, which is valuable because you still have like 5 or 6 rides there. And okay, you can put your ticket here as a collateral because I believe that this ticket is valuable. And in exchange, you can take a few rides. After the rides, you can go to an ATM, you can take out your money, you can give me that money, and you can get your ticket back. And the same thing is there. You can lend, borrow, and you can also protect your money with insurance. So for me, this is like a big adventure park, and I love adventure parks, as you have figured out. So for me, this whole space is very exciting because you can do practically anything. You can build anything on the top of anything, and everything is so open source.
Wow, you've so simply tied out everything together. A really great example. And now that you said that you do staking, you do yield farming and everything, I just want to know what are your biggest projects that you're very bullish on? Where do you put all your money? What are you holding for long term?
So I would say there are 2 ways you can do this. One is a really aggressive way to make money. So there you have to figure out, you have to be an active market participant. You have to put in the hours every single day. If that's not you, then this is not going to work for you. And second is
just 1 second. Yeah. For people who are not these people, they can just buy, they can hold for long term and stake. That's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
Okay. And now for people who are into this game for long term, you are going to tell us what to do.
Yeah, so I'll share my own story. In March of 2021, I figured out that there is something called as PancakeSwap. And I thought, before that I had tried trading, I had tried bots, I had tried airdrops, I was learning about NFTs. So I tried 5 or 6 ways to make money, but I was not able to make money. And just tying it up with the earlier story, so when I had lost 96% of my portfolio, I was able to recoup that by April of 2021. So I was like, I consulted a few advisors and fee-only planners and all of these people, and thankfully, because I was able to recover my money, I developed more interest in learning more about crypto. So in March 2021, I started with staking Cake token on PancakeSwap, and at that point of time, Cake was 130%. And I quickly figured out that if I'm buying Cake at $20, because that was my average price, even if Cake goes to $8, I'm going to be fine, because in a year from now, my number of units are going to double. And it's almost a year from there, my number of units have almost more than doubled, because in between I had got boosted rewards as well. And I quickly figured out that Cake right now is the only DEX on Binance Smart Chain, and they're making good money from fees. And Binance is supporting them. Binance says that, I truly believe Charlie has done kind of like partnership with Cake. Cake को नहीं बनने देगा मैं, तुम चलेगा. And Cake is like, at that point of time, Cake was great. Then I quickly realized, up us time pe Cake pe you could not do auto compounding. There was only manual returns. Achha. So then I figured out Beefy. I thought, okay, Beefy is great. I can put my Cake in there and it auto compounds for me. So I put my money in Beefy. Then I quickly figured out, if I'm putting my money in Beefy, and if Beefy is going to take a percentage of it, it means that there are going to be more people who are going to do something similar, but also with pairs. Because single staking is one thing. If I Cake ko BNB se buy kar raha hu, there would be a way that I can do Cake BNB on Beefy. Liquidity. So I figured that out. And this was this moment where I realized that DeFi was for me. So because for me, I'm very clear about this. I don't chase the feeling of euphoria or rush in my portfolio. I chase that by trying to understand things जिनके लिए कोई documentation या video है ही नहीं अभी. अच्छा. It could be the most simplest things, and if there is like, if I'm able to figure it out by myself, that's where I feel the most happiest. So when I was able to figure this out, there was literally no documentation or no videos around Beefy or Cake at that point of time. And from there, I started with a test capital of $200. I thought, okay, from $200, I will see how much I can make money. And a lot of new projects were coming on Binance Smart Chain. And in 4 weeks, I was able to turn $200 into almost $15,000. And I was just doing aggressive farming. I was taking profits aggressively because I had not taken profits earlier. I had lost a lot of money. So I was taking profits very aggressively. I was making 5%, 10% money a day. And I still have documented all of that in my Discord, in my Google Sheets.
Okay.
I used to track that obsessively. And then one day the market tanked in May, and my 15,000 were reduced to 7,000 or 8,000. And I was happy because I learned two things. One, I was still in positive. So last time the market had tanked, I lost 96%.
Right.
This time it was just 50.
Yeah.
Second, I figured out that when Bitcoin was dropping, Matic was still holding strong.
Achha.
And I had a light bulb moment. I thought Matic is showing relative strength. And I know the founder of Matic, college senior. So I know that this guy is building something, relative strength. Let's try Matic. And I automatically went to Matic. Matic was great for 2 months. 2 months or 1 month, I think. And then I was stopped because of some reason. And then again, I started in July. I did like this farming and stuff for 2 months. I lost to 8% of my portfolio in August. And then again, I started in September. And doing all of this, I quickly figured out that the reason why these farms were giving so much money is because they were getting money. And VCs were putting their money into it. And I figured out that if I can figure out a way when I can find which chain is getting VC funding, I can quickly move to that chain. So as soon as Phantom got VC funding, I moved to Phantom because I knew that Phantom is going to have rewards. And it was easy because think about it like this: chains have multiple projects on them. Like by the time Phantom got famous, Phantom got funding, it was October or November. I think October, and Beefy was already huge. Other platforms were already becoming huge, Curve, Aave, and all of these platforms. Now my mindset that instead of finding a new platform that comes on Phantom, how about I have a hunch that these platforms will also cross bridge or will also have a Phantom chain,
right?
Because they already have 100 million plus TVL. So they would be thinking, they would be smarter than me, they would not want to lose on Phantom. So I quickly started from there, and I moved from like right now I'm in Phantom, but I'm also exploring AVAX, I'm also exploring Atom, I'm also exploring other chains. And I have understood that this whole cycle, it moves in rotation. The VCs keep moving their money. There was phone rotation going on before. So right now it's almost end of phone. And if you see all the other projects that had shown relative strength with phone when BTC was dropping, they're all starting to tank. And now I have seen the next chain that is like, I personally feel AVAX is going to be the chain that again gets the pumping because money is going to come in there. So this is a more aggressive way, but it also because I said that DeFi, it like for me it worked, it clicked. Might not be the same for everyone, so if that's you, stick to passive, or you can find out safer farms. There is no safe farms, but safer farms like say any farm that you have fundamental belief in, you can stick to that. But I still feel that we have a couple of years where you can easily make 0.5% to 1% a day. That's very easy.
Even when I started with cake. So but this is a very crude, very content research heavy kind of a way. That is great. And you mentioned all of these things, right? You mentioned DeFi Summer. We've had our fair share of these highlighting events. And I think the newest one is DeFi 2.0. What are your views on that?
I think DeFi 2.0 is great for getting new people in the space. Think of it like this: DeFi was working nice, but there is always this human urge and need to constantly keep innovating. The smartest people end up creating solutions for problems that should not have existed in the first place. That's how I see DeFi 2.0. For example, when Olympus DAO came in, when all of these rebase tokens came in, people were excited. Everyone was talking about that, wow, this is giving 80,000% APYs, and time is there, Wonderland is there. I was like, okay. And when finally people lost, I did not take any interest or any participation there.
Thank God.
Because I quickly figured out this, that no, it's not possible, it's not feasible. And secondly, even if you're rebasing, there is no way that anyone can make that much money with rebasing. Or say for Olympus DAO, it was to me sounded like an elaborated scheme where you would ultimately lose money because the way it was designed. It was, in my opinion, a very detailed way for whales to take money from retail. For me, it seems like DeFi 2.0 is great it's going to, like, people are testing their creativity, trying different ways of how they can use game theory. We have seen the meme 3-3, then we have seen these folks of Om, and
Yeah.
finally, one good thing I see coming out of that is Luna USD, which I think is incredible. That's where I personally feel the most bullish on. I have been studying it a lot in detail in the last couple of months, and this is where I think that DeFi 2.0 is going to be great, because DAI failed to be a decentralized coin. And if you know, there was this time when FBI froze the wallets which were having USDT for a short period of time.
Yeah.
And yesterday,
USDT, USDT itself is not a, people saying that it's a centralized. This is not owned by the US, and people don't know that. Not reliable. And lately we've seen so many freezing happening with
That's why I think tokens like UST or Magic Internet Money, these are going to be better because they're truly like decentralized, and there is an intrinsic value that you have to burn your Luna, or you have to put it somewhere, either bond it or stake it, and then you can get something out, and then you can use that to get UST. So this is the part where I'm very excited about, because I think that decentralized money in its true sense was needed in some way, and a stable coin, of course, gives you a lot of peace of mind knowing that this cannot be frozen.
Fair. And that's a good comparison value, I think. Most times it's tough for us to value the other tokens in BTC. So it's a good thing to have a stable coin in general. But coming back to DAOs, so I mean, we have seen DAOs in a really bad light lately, with the tanking of time, So and all the projects of owning their own liquidity, sort to say. So I mean, a fiasco, majorly, what people are calling it. So I'll just request you to explain DAOs in the first place to people, and then we'll head on to that conversation again.
Sure. So DAOs basically mean decentralized autonomous organization. We are assuming that if there are 1,000 people in a room, and say we have set a condition that if 51% people say that they want to have pizza, and if 51% people vote, which means 510 people vote for pizza, then everyone gets to eat in pizza. And this is the basic example of DAO. There is a governance in place. People have got voting rights, and now you can get fancy with it. You can say that out of those 1,000 people, kids have a voting power of 1.25, senior citizens have a voting power of 1.25, men have a voting power of 0.8, women have a voting power of 1.1. And say then you can again say if DAO is in comparison to a team, then team has a voting power of 1.25x, VCs have a voting power of 1.1, then people who are not doing any staking have a voting power of 0.5x, and you can design the DAO whatever way you want. Today you can design your DAO in like under 10 minutes. There are multiple applications through which you can make one, and you can play around with it. While DAOs are great, I personally believe DAOs are designed to fail for 99% of the time, because when you are creating a DAO, you are assuming that everyone has the same level of competence, same level of skill set, same level of knowledge, and same level of best interest of the community at heart, which is not the case. So for example, if I want to tank someone's project, I just need to figure out a way to get hold to 51% wallets who would be involved in the voting process, and I can tank anyone's project. मुझे किसी से खुन्नस निकालनी है, मैं निकाल लूंगा. And this is where DAOs fail. I have seen DAOs where people did not vote for something because they did not want to lose out on a certain reward. So that reward behavior modification comes into picture, and this is the same thing I have seen over and over again. So if you are familiar with curve wars, this was happening because people were moving their liquidity, or the way this Andre, the guy who made Yearn Finance and FTM, he came out with his thing that I would release 20 NFTs for the top 20 projects on FTM. And the next day vampire attacks started happening, where this V protocol came in, and they immediately got $300 million in TVL. And then Andre came out with 0x DAO, which was his own DAO, and that immediately had a lot of TVL, but again it dropped in value as soon as the rewards started depleting. So this is where I believe, where you put a monetary or incentive with voting, immediately people want to chase for money, and the intention with which the DAO was started takes the second or third position. So this is one part. The other is where we see Olympus and all of these, where they say that we'll own the liquidity. Owning the liquidity is great. I think owning the liquidity helps a project to also keep the price in check, because the more liquidity you have, the lesser price fluctuation, the lesser price fluctuation caused by whales as well. So manipulation has lesser chances, and ultimately you can create your own treasury. Until this point, I was 100% in agreement with Olympus DAO that because I think of cryptocurrencies that each cryptocurrency could be in itself in its own country. So just like a country has a treasury, a cryptocurrency should also have its own treasury. And this is how they can think of, like, if you go to, say, for example, Cello.com, and if you see their treasury, they have talked about the assets that the company believes in, which is Bitcoin, Ethereum, and a few other assets. And they have a roadmap where they're going to increase the treasury of this company. And then they also explain what they're going to do with the funds of this treasury. So that way, I think a project should have a treasury, because it puts less pressure on the project, and they are not that obligated to raise funds as well, because if you can raise funds from crowdfunding, you don't need VCs. And today there are lots of ways that you can use that money to get 40-50% APY and still grow that treasury year by year by year. As soon as you say that this bond comes into picture, we are going to rebase, we are going to do all of this fancy stuff that you learned in game theory, this again becomes designed to fail, because then people are incentivized. I mean, if I would be getting 80,000% APY, I'm incentivized to sell. And then the projects say that we have sell pressure. Of course. I mean, you are a dumbass if you think you are going to get 80,000% APY in your native token and people are not going to sell it. So this is why I think DAOs who give rewards in their native tokens are 100% going to fail, because people are going to sell those native tokens.
Yeah, like we've had Ohm, right, for Olympus. They've had backing of so much, and now they're reducing their APYs because they've understood that it's not sustainable, right? But now coming back to the better side of DAO, why this was started. Do you think we really need DAOs even in that sense? Because with the current scenarios and with humans being people who want to have structures, we want to have leadership, we want to have hierarchies and functioning. Even in the better sense of DAO, do we really need it? And how efficient will that be?
I don't think we need DAOs for 99% of the things. Henry Ford once said that if I would have asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. So innovation does not come from democracy. Innovation does not come from consensus. If you want to please people, create a DAO. I'll tell you something, Riyad. See the people who talk about creating DAOs and then take a look at their personality. They are often people pleaser, or they don't have your best interest at heart. So I personally think about if Satoshi Nakamoto had first thought about releasing a DAO or talking to 100 people before releasing Bitcoin, Bitcoin would not have been here. We would not be having this conversation. Or when 5 people walked out of room when Vitalik was talking about Ethereum, and ultimately the 2 people who staked, one created DOT, one created ADA, that would not have happened. So I think now comes into picture where you should take feedback on certain things. You can take feedback on features. You can take feedback on things that won't have a direct mega impact on the project you're building in. But if a competent person who has a certain skill set takes advice from people who don't have any such skill set, most of the times they're missing the context. They don't know the situation. They're not fully aware of the risk and reward. It's, again, in my opinion, designed to fail. It's like you give a knife in the hand of a 1-year-old baby, and the baby cuts itself and you blame the knife. You are stupid.
Fair. Yeah, I mean, we can't build the best of projects without the Gavin Woods of the world, without, Vitaliks of the world. We can't take everyone and build the best things. Fair enough. And I also feel that, with the token voting, it's not efficient because you can't vote on every smaller thing. And I feel it ties down to what structures we have today, because the CEO will always have the most money. He'll always have the most power to have more voting. And an analyst would consequently have lesser money and have lesser value. So doesn't really make a lot of sense. And so I guess you don't believe in corporates being DAOs in the future, or what is your say? Will we still have CEOs? Will we have organizations, or will we just have DAOs in the future?
We will certainly have some, because it's impossible to eliminate DAOs, because a lot of times people would be having this utopian vision that they can be different. But I'll push it in another way. I learn a lot from history. Like I study history aggressively. You'll be surprised that there is not one country in the world who became a developed country while being democratic.
Okay.
Similarly, I believe there is not going to be a single project that is going to achieve the success similar to Ethereum or DOT or any of the layer ones or Bitcoin if it is run by a DAO. Because it's not possible. You cannot again bring together high level decisions thinking that I'm going to get feedback, or a CEO can think that I'm going to get more VCs in, because ultimately when you think about primary motivating factors, people who are innovators, they are very seldom motivated by money. The fun of creating something, the fun of solving something is their main motivating factor. Versus the VCs who are investing, their motivating factor is to extract as much money as possible, as much return as possible over a long period of time. Versus the consumers who are there, they are there because either they are seeing a problem getting solved or they want to make money as well. So when there are so many people in a system with different interests, it's very difficult to get everyone on the same page for a long period of time. And if somehow you miraculously are able to do that, there are going to be a lot of conflicts. So you're going to spend a lot of time resolving those conflicts rather than innovating.
I think synthetics is a good example for that. Yeah, we've seen that story. But now struggling with the leadership and all of that, unanimity, governance is an issue. That's a fair understanding. So I think all my questions are done. We've had a great session, and you explained everything with such nitty-gritty details, and tying it back to real life and history. That was a great understanding for all of us. Thank you so much, Srijan. This has been great talking to you.
Thank you for having me, Riya. You had great questions, very well thought, very well researched.
Yeah, thank you. I think these are all the questions that the community wants to know. We're beyond the basics. We want to get into the psychology of how these things work. And I think we also as Indian community are growing. We're done with what is DeFi. Now we're at what is DeFi 2.0. So that's a great insight that you've given us. Thank you so much.